Big moves could be on the horizon for the Dallas Cowboys this offseason. From Tyron Smith's uncertain future, to Stefon Diggs potentially hitting free agency, and even a shocking trade rumor involving Joe Milton, let's dive into all the latest Cowboys buzz. Welcome back to the channel, where we break down the latest, hottest, and most exciting news about America's team. I know you guys have been waiting for this one today. We've got some juicy rumors that could totally change the landscape for the Cowboys heading into next season. We're talking about potential moves that could shake up the roster, including Tyron Smith's future in Dallas, Stefon Diggs and his free agent drama, and even a surprise trade involving quarterback Joe Milton. Yup, you heard me right. The Dallas Cowboys could be in play for Joe Milton. What a wild offseason this is shaping up to be. Let's dive right into Tyron Smith and the potential future of the Dallas Cowboys offensive line. Tyron Smith has been a cornerstone of the Cowboys' O-line for years, but the reality of the situation is, he's getting older, and his injury history is starting to pile up. This is a tough conversation for Cowboys fans, because Tyron has been so vital to the success of the team for over a decade. He's made 7 Pro Bowls, been named first-team All-Pro 3 times, and was a key part of the dominant offensive lines that helped establish the Cowboys' identity in the late 2010s. But the injuries, especially the neck and back issues, have taken a toll on him in recent seasons. In 2023, Smith missed a few games due to a torn hamstring and continued to show signs that he's not quite the same player he once was. As much as Cowboys fans would love to see him retire as a Cowboy, there's the very real possibility that his tenure with the team could be nearing its end. The Cowboys' salary cap situation is tight, and with Tyron Smith's cap hit scheduled to increase in 2025, it's a valid question to ask: does Dallas need to start thinking about life without him? The team has shown some positive signs with their young offensive line talent, namely Tyron Smith, who has impressed at both guard and tackle positions. But even with these new faces, parting ways with a player like Tyron Smith would leave a huge hole in the leadership and experience department, something not easily replaced. The Cowboys front office needs to balance the loyalty to one of their all-time greats with the reality that the team needs to move forward. So, what happens next? Could a trade be in the cards? That's a possibility. We know that teams like the Chicago Bears and others in the market for offensive line help could be interested in acquiring a veteran like Tyron Smith. But the Cowboys' trade options are complicated. The team would likely have to take a dead cap hit if they move on from Smith before his contract is up, and it's unclear whether another team would be willing to take on Smith's contract given his injury history. There's also the possibility that the Cowboys try to get Smith back to his best for one more season and utilize him in a mentoring role for the younger players. No matter what direction the Cowboys choose, though, Tyron Smith's future in Dallas is up in the air, and it's a situation that will likely be a big talking point throughout the offseason. Next up, let's talk about Stefon Diggs. If you haven't heard, there are some serious rumors swirling about the star wide receiver potentially leaving the Buffalo Bills in free agency. Diggs has been a massive part of the Bills' offense since his arrival in 2020, racking up over 1,000 yards in each of his 3 seasons with Buffalo. His chemistry with Josh Allen has been undeniable, and together they've formed one of the most dangerous quarterback-wide receiver duos in the NFL. But reports have emerged suggesting that Diggs might not be happy with the current state of the Bills' offense. Some insiders have said that there's frustration between Diggs and the team's front office, with Diggs wanting more of a role in the offense and perhaps wanting a bigger stage for himself. We've seen instances of him getting visibly upset on the sidelines during games, and with the Bills failing to make it to a Super Bowl despite their talent, it's not hard to see why Diggs might want a change of scenery. This is where the Dallas Cowboys come in. The Cowboys have been one of the most talked about teams in terms of trading for a high-caliber wide receiver, especially after the inconsistency we've seen from their receiving core over the last few seasons. CeeDee Lamb has been fantastic as the Cowboys' #1 receiver, but the Cowboys have lacked a true second option to take the pressure off of Lamb. Michael Gallup has struggled with injuries and hasn't been able to consistently perform at the level we saw prior to his knee injury. And then you have Jalen Tolbert, who's shown flashes of potential but is still an unproven commodity at the NFL level. Stefon Diggs would immediately change the Cowboys' offense, giving Dak Prescott a proven elite receiver to pair with Lamb. The combination of Lamb and Diggs could form one of the most dangerous receiver tandems in the league, creating mismatches across the field for opposing defenses. But here's the reality of the situation: the Cowboys would have to make some serious financial adjustments to bring in Diggs. He's one of the highest paid wide receivers in the league, and the Cowboys would need to clear up cap space by restructuring contracts or moving around salary. That's a lot of work, especially considering how tight their cap space is right now. Not to mention, the Bills are likely going to demand a hefty price in return, perhaps even a first-round pick, maybe more. The Cowboys would have to be smart with their resources and make sure this is the right move. Adding Diggs could completely transform their offense, but it would come at a cost, and Dallas would have to weigh that heavily. There's also the question of whether Diggs would actually want to leave Buffalo. The Bills are still a top-tier team in the AFC, and while they've had their playoff disappointments, they remain a Super Bowl contender. If Diggs is frustrated with his role or the team's direction, though, Dallas could become an enticing destination. The Cowboys have a strong offense, a talented quarterback, and a large fanbase, things that could appeal to Diggs. The question now is, will the Cowboys be aggressive enough to go after him and give him what he wants? Now let's talk about the wild card in all of this, the potential trade for Joe Milton. For those who aren't familiar, Joe Milton is a quarterback who currently plays for the Tennessee Volunteers. He's one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks in college football, with an arm that can throw the ball 80 yards down the field with ease. Milton's size, mobility, and deep ball accuracy have scouts excited, but he's also been criticized for his inconsistency and decision-making. That being said, there's no denying his potential. Milton has been touted as a developmental prospect who could have a future in the NFL with the right coaching and system. So why are the Cowboys linked to him? Well, Dak Prescott is the undeniable starter in Dallas, but the Cowboys could be looking to add a backup quarterback with more upside. Cooper Rush has done an admirable job as Dak's backup, but the Cowboys may want someone with a higher ceiling, someone who could develop into a future starter if the need arises. Joe Milton fits that bill perfectly. His combination of size, arm strength, and mobility makes him an intriguing prospect, and with the right mentorship from Dak and Mike McCarthy, Milton could develop into a strong NFL quarterback. The Cowboys would likely be looking at Milton as a project, someone they could bring in to develop behind Dak Prescott. Maybe they draft him, or maybe they make a trade to acquire him. Either way, Milton could be a low-risk, high-reward player for the Cowboys to take a chance on. If the Cowboys were to pull this off, they would essentially be betting on his development and hoping that he can blossom into the quarterback they need if things ever go south with Dak. The fact that the Cowboys have shown interest in backup quarterbacks with upside in the past makes this even more of an intriguing possibility. Would they pull the trigger on a deal for Milton? Time will tell, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on as we move through the offseason. As we wrap up these rumors, one thing is clear: the Dallas Cowboys are always in the mix when it comes to big moves. Whether it's a potential trade for a superstar wide receiver like Stefon Diggs, or the future of Tyron Smith and his place in the Cowboys' offensive line, the team's decision-making will have a massive impact on their future success. Could these rumors turn into reality? We'll just have to wait and see. So what do you think, Cowboys Nation? What moves would you like to see the Cowboys make this offseason? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I always love hearing from you guys. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on all the latest Cowboys news. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, go Cowboys!